Hey everyone. I'm here today to talk to you about how to start your first diet. Kind of what to know, what maybe is a little bit fake on the internet that you've read and think it's going to work. This video will cover everything you need to know to start your first diet. So let's get into it. So, who am I? Why listen to me? I have a bachelor degree in kinesiology with an emphasis in rehabilitative science. I am a certified personal trainer through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. I have 2 years of personal training experience. I have trained or coached online for 1 year. I am an athlete. I have been an athlete since the first grade and all the way up until 12th grade. I was a power lifter. I still do train power lifters, and then I will soon be a bodybuilder. I am on prep starting in about 4 weeks. So if you're interested in following me along in that journey as well, go ahead and click the link in the description. I will leave that to my Instagram account so that you can check that out and follow me as I go through it. So the basics, really quick. Let's just cover misconceptions and everything like that as far as starting your first diet goes. So, no magic pill. If you see an ad on TV that says you'll take this and you'll lose 10 pounds in 10 days, it's bullcrap. Don't trust that. It's not going to work, right? All diets, and I mean keto, OMAD, carnivore, a fasting diet, whatever it might be, it does not work unless you're in a calorie deficit, right? So, the amount of calories coming in have to be less than the amount of calories going out. So, if you follow an OMAD diet, let's just say one meal a day, and your maintenance is set at 2,500 and you have 2,800 in that day, just because you had one meal a day does not mean you're going to lose fat, okay? That's not how that works. Calories in, calories out. So, we need to be in a net calorie deficit. And what I mean by a net calorie deficit is essentially we need to be in a calorie deficit by the end of the week, month, year, so on, okay? So, if we have one bad day where we have maybe it's 500 extra calories than we were supposed to, right? Dust yourself off, get back on the grind train because at the end of the day, at the end of the week, I should say, all that matters is that you are in a calorie deficit again by the end of the week, by the end of the month, by the end of the year. That will ultimately determine if you're going to lose weight, okay? So, what the heck is a calorie? Calorie is a measurement of energy. Okay, we take in energy, we expend energy. There's constant energy transformations that occur every single day within our bodies. So, 1 kilocalorie is the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, so again, it's just a measurement. It's just heat. It's all calories are. It's just a heat byproduct. So the first law of thermodynamics states that energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can be converted. What that means is the way you gained weight was through energy conversion, right? The way you will lose weight is also through energy conversion. And that energy conversion has to happen by being in a energy imbalance, if you will. So what that means is we need to be eating less calories again than we're expending, and vice versa. If you were trying to gain weight, right, you need to be eating more calories than you're expending. So the basics: 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat tissue. Meaning, if we're in a 500 calorie deficit per day, that'll result in a 3,500 calorie weekly deficit, which would mean we will lose 1 pound of fat tissue, or 1 pound of, I should say, body mass per week. 1,000 calorie deficit per day, multiply that by 7, that would be a 7,000 calorie deficit, weekly deficit, and we would be losing 2 pounds of body weight per week. So, first things first, when we're setting our calorie goal, this is what's going to determine if we're losing weight, gaining weight, maintaining weight, so on. Finding your basal metabolic rate, your BMR. There are plenty of calculators online to find this number. I will leave a link in the description for where you can find one of these calculators so that it's easy for you. Basal metabolic rate, what it is it's all the chemical reactions that happen in your body at rest. So things like respiration, things like involuntary muscle contractions, things like digestion, and so on. Those are all things that your body does subconsciously, if you will. So things that don't require thought, right? It's all involuntary. Next is we need to figure out your NEAT. So your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and that is anything that does not involve exercise. So things like fidgeting, maybe it's walking to and from work if that's what you do, or biking to and from work. brushing your teeth, taking a shower, like whatever it is, just every movement that we do, moving my hands like this is burning calories, right? So the more you move around in the day, the more calories you're going to burn from your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? So finding your total daily energy expenditure is the next step. So that is going to be the sum of your basal metabolic rate, your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and your exercise that you do in the day. And that will all sum up to total daily energy expenditure. Total daily energy expenditure is essentially is going to be how many calories your body needs after exercise, after your NEAT, after your basal metabolic rate, after all of these things are added up, how many calories you burn in the day. That is what's going to tell you, okay, this number is how many calories my body needs in order to maintain steady weight, right? So your total daily energy expenditure, if we're trying to lose 1 pound of fat per week, we need to set a 500 calorie deficit, right? So total daily energy expenditure minus 500 would give us 1 pound of body weight lost per week. Okay. Next is how do we set our macronutrient goal? So the reason macronutrients are so important to us is because it will determine our body composition. Okay. If we lose, let's just say we're in a 500 calorie deficit eating just garbage food, right? Maybe it's Twinkies and Big Macs in my example up here. We're not going to lose good weight. We're going to lose we will be losing the good weight. We'll be losing the muscle mass. When we lose weight, right, there's a proportion. There's a proportion of fat to mass, or fat to muscle mass lost. So if we're eating mostly carbs, fats, very minimal protein, and our diet it's highly processed foods, highly palatable foods, we might be losing a significant amount of muscle in comparison to the fat. We'll still be losing body weight because we're in a 500 calorie deficit at the end of the day. In fact, we'll be losing 1 pound of body weight. However, we're not going to be losing good weight, or we will be losing the good weight. That's what I should say. So we want to make sure that we are optimizing our macronutrient breakdown in order to make sure that we're not losing that muscle mass that we all are trying to either gain or at least maintain. So there's 3 macronutrients. There's proteins, fats, and carbs. There are 4 calories per gram of protein, 9 calories per gram of fat, and 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate, right? So we want to steer clear of those super high fatty foods that a lot of us gravitate to when we're just going for a snack or something like that. Staying away from those because they're really calorie dense is what we call that. Meaning for a certain volume of food, we're getting a lot of calories. So if the volume of food is like that big, right? Maybe it's a scoop of peanut butter. You're going to be getting like 200 calories per 2 tablespoons, right? So very calorie dense. You want to steer clear of those things, unless, of course, they fall in your meal plan and your macronutrient goal. So when we're looking at our protein, we want to set our protein at 1 gram per pound of body weight. That is a very general rule of thumb. That is for leanish persons. So if you have someone that maybe is 40% body fat, you're not going to want to use this rule of thumb for them just because their lean mass compared to their fat mass, it's so disproportionate that, they don't need that much protein. In all honesty, they don't need that 300 grams of protein if they're 300 pounds. So we would set it maybe at like 250 or something like that. And that's where getting a coach can be helpful because they can figure all that out for you. For leanish people, I mean 10 to 20% for men, 20 to 30 for women. So for fat, we want to set this at 0.3 grams per pound of body weight. So fat is one of the essential macronutrients. We need protein and we need fat. Those are the two macronutrients that we need in order to sustain life. Fat is essential, should not be any less than 0.25 grams per pound of body weight. And again, this is also for leanish individuals. Same body fat range as I said for the protein. For carbohydrates, we want to fill the rest of our calorie goal in with those carbs. So next, I'm going to show you guys a case study and we'll kind of go over how we do that, how we do all these calculations and such. So we've got our friend Sam. He is 200 pounds. He's 20% body fat. He's 30 years old. He's lightly active. 30 minutes of moderate intense exercise per day for him. So after looking at this, considering his body weight, his age, his height, things like that, we can figure out his basal metabolic rate, and we figure out that is 1,800 calories per day. Okay. Next is we need to figure out his NEAT, his non-exercise activity thermogenesis. He's lightly active throughout the day, so I set that at 300 calories. His exercise He burns 300 calories in his 30 minutes of moderate intense exercise per day. So if we add all that up, that gives us our total daily energy expenditure of 2,400 calories. So that's how many calories his body needs in order to maintain his weight that he's at right now, his 200 pounds. However, his goal is to lose 1 pound of weight per week. So we need to take his goal and we need to figure out, okay, put his goal on one side of the equation. And then on the other side, we have 2,400, which is what he needs in a day. Subtract 500 calories from that. He would need 1,900 calories per day in order to lose 1 pound of body weight per week. Now, in order to optimize where that body weight is coming from, wanting it, we want more of that to be from fat, we need to set our macronutrients appropriately. So for him, he falls within that 10 to 20 body fat percent range. So we would set his protein goal at 200 grams because he is 200 pounds and he falls within the 10 to 20. For his fats, again, he falls within the 10 to 20. So we're going to multiply 200 times the 0.25 grams per pound of body weight and we get 50 grams. So he needs 50 grams of 50 grams of fat per day at least to start. Now, fats and carbs can be a little bit interchangeable. As long as you're not going significantly below that 0.25 threshold, you're good. But if you prefer higher fats in your diet and you just find maybe you function better that way, go for it. As long as you're staying in the calorie deficit, that's all that matters at the end of the day. And that your protein is somewhat high and that you're getting the bare minimum amount of fat. So for your carbs, you fill in the rest, right? So we've got 1,900. We subtract that by the amount of calories coming from protein, the amount of calories coming from fat, and then we divide that by 4, and then we get dividing it by 4 because there's 4 calories per gram of carb, and then that gives us our 163 grams of carbs per day that he needs. So now that you have the numbers, what are we going to do with it? So just some nutrition recommendations that I have for you as far as where your source of protein, what kind of foods you should eat for them, same fats, carbs. So starting with protein, chicken breast, lean beef, lean turkey, things like that. For fish, whitefish, salmon, tuna, whey protein, and then eggs and egg whites are also really great. The reason I have these ranked so high is because of their amino acid profiles, and they are very high in all the essential amino acids we need in order to build and retain muscle. So things like soy protein and stuff like that, those work. However, the amino acid profile is not as high, so you might need to get more protein in at the end of the day. I'm not going to explain that in this video, but yeah, those are the top four proteins on my list. And then for fats, nut butters, oils, avocado. And then for carbohydrates, we've got fruit, vegetables, rice, whichever rice you prefer. It can be white or brown, oats, potatoes, and bread. So we need to figure out, or we need to consider the calorie density of foods. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. But the reason calorie density is so important is because when we are in a calorie deficit, a hunger hormone called ghrelin is spiked. So meaning we are going to feel hungrier more often, more frequently. So we want foods that take up a bunch of space that have very few calories. So a great example of this is like spinach, right? You buy a big bag of spinach from Costco. It's like literally this big, like bigger than my face. And if you were to eat all of that, like you're not going to get fat off spinach because there's only 100 calories per bag. So you can eat it as much of it as you want, right? It doesn't taste super good, but you get my point. Like for the amount of space that takes up, it's very, very few in calories. So things like leafy greens like spinach, berries, specifically strawberries. You can have so many freaking strawberries, like you won't even need to worry about it. Smart Pop popcorn, not Skinny Pop. Skinny Pop has a ton of oil, which isn't necessarily bad, but talk about calorie density. It's fairly calorie dense. Soup, potatoes, things like that are all fairly good for keeping it low calorie dense. If you are cool with artificial sweeteners, sugar-free Jello, sugar-free pudding, Mio squirts, any kind of diet soda, so Coke Zero or something like that. Those are all really great if you don't have a problem with artificial sweeteners. So, main takeaways: try using a calorie or macro counter app. Do not lose any more than 0.5 to 1% of body weight per week. So if you're a 200-pound individual, you don't want to lose any more than 1 to 2 pounds of body weight per week. Next thing is that it's not a sprint. Losing 5 pounds per week will result in extreme rebound, and diet fatigue, unless you weigh 500 pounds to start, you're not going to want to lose that much, right? Because that person would fall within the 1%. So make sure that you're not going any higher than 0.5 to 1% of body weight lost per week, or else you will experience extreme hunger, diet fatigue, rebound. None of those are good things that you want to deal with. So remember that it took months, years to put on. It's going to take months or years to get it off, right? If it took you a year to gain 50 pounds, it's going to take you a year to lose 50 pounds. It's just how it goes. For consistency and discipline, they need to be way higher than motivation. Motivation is going to be great for the start, right? It's going to give you that. It's going to give you that kick start. You're going to. Oh, where's my hand? There we go. It's going to be really high in the beginning. You're going to be all the way up here, and then once you get maybe 2-3 weeks into the diet, it's just going to start dropping very fast, and that's when discipline really needs to start taking over and carry you out, kind of the rest of the diet. So making sure you are staying disciplined, having a good support group, getting a coach, things like that are really going to help with the accountability aspect and just keeping you on track. Because again, it doesn't happen overnight. Just like building muscle doesn't happen overnight, fat loss doesn't happen overnight either. So don't expect it to. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, subscribe if you guys enjoy the content. Make sure to let me know if you want to see more of these videos and what kind of videos you'd want to see. I am more than happy to talk about science of this kind of stuff as well. Yeah, if you're interested in online coaching or anything like that, I'll leave the link in the description for that as well. Follow me on my social medias. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time.